has been our tradition. It has been our tradition that to begin with any task, any good job, we take the blessings of Goddess Saraswati. It has been said that shloka Saraswati Namastubhyam Varde Kam Rupini Vidyaram Karanchami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. हम बोलते हैं कि हे मैं सरस्वती ज्ञान की देवी, मैं किसी भी काम को शुरू करने जा रहा हूँ, इस ज्ञान की जो यात्रा है इसको प्रारंभ करने जा रहा हूँ, हमें आशीर्वाद दीजिए कि इस यात्रा में हम सफल हों। इस भाव के साथ मैं आमंत्रित करता हूँ गेस्ट ऑफ द डे श्री आचार्य जी, डॉक्टर सपना राकेश, डीन स्ट्रैटेजी डॉक्टर सिन्हा, डीन स्ट्रैटेजी डॉक्टर अवस्थी, Dr. Naruka, to come forward to take the blessings of Ma Saraswati by lighting the lamp. Saraswati lamp. माँ सरस्वती की वंदना के बाद ये समय जब हम माँ भारती की वंदना करें। एक बार एक बच्चे ने अपने पिताजी से पूछा, फादर व्हाई डू वी स्टैंड ड्यूरिंग नेशनल एंथम? देयर कुड बी many replies, but the kind of reply this father gave to his son, it truly mesmerized me. The father said, many could not stood back because we can stand today. बहुत सारे लोगों ने अपनी जान की कुर्बानी दी ताकि आज हम खड़े हो सके। उस सौभाग्य को पाने के लिए may I request everybody to stand up for national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा, तव शुभ नामे जागे, तब शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तब जय गाथा। जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Well, many feelings come and go, but the kind of feeling we have during this national anthem is truly irreplaceably marvelous. With this feeling, let me tell you, and everybody accept that we are from the land, we are from the country which treats guests as dev. हमारी परंपरा है कि अतिथि देवो भव, हम अतिथि में देव ढूंढते हैं। तो किसी भी कार्यक्रम को शुरू करने से पहले, to begin with any program, we must welcome our guest. To proceed with this, may I request Director GLBIMR, Dr. Sapna Rakesh, to present a bouquet to the guest of the day, Dr. Achari, Dr. Ashirvadam Achari. Can we have you on the stage, sir? We have another guest with us today. I am introducing Madam Amna Singh. She is a founder director of Voice It Divinity. May I request Dean Strategy Dr. Shashank Awasthi to present a bouquet to Madam Singh. Ma'am, can we have you here? Thank you so much. The series of welcoming the guest will not be over unless I request Dr. Sapna Rakesh to present a formal welcome speech to the guests. Can we have Dr. Sapna Rakesh on the stage, please?
Respected guest for the day, Dr. Ashirvadam Achari, Madam Amna Singh, respected my colleague, the head of the MBA, Dr. Arvind, Dean of Strategy, my friend, colleague Shashankji, lot of faculty colleagues who are sitting here, and the future of this country, the budding, not only the country, the future of the business in this country, our budding managers from the MBA and PGDM program. I welcome each one of you to this very, very topical session today with Dr. Achari. I met Dr. Achari last when we had a program on new education policy. Why his presence here is very, very meaningful to all of you is because of the type of diversity of portfolio related to education he handles in this country. Apart from the fact that he comes from the academic fraternity, he is also an element in the current governance with respect to his role in the documentation, library, academics, new implementation of new education policy, etc., etc. But more than that, he also heads a center on corporate governance, has his research work in the area of corporate governance, which is much read about, but actually less talked about and even less thought about. That is what corporate governance in this country is. As you pass out from the portals of GL Bajaj, we would expect you to be wrapped, to be coated, to be embedded, to be entrenched with the values of corporate governance for ethical business tomorrow. Friends, it may appear to be another rhetoric. रोज बात होती है, आज फिर एक बात हो गई. But of course, when you will hear Dr. Achari, you will realize that probably the biggest problem this country has is corruption, and corruption does not start in an office. Corruption starts in the mind of the population of the country. Corruption starts in the discussions that we have in the classroom, at the home, in the hostels, and then later at the business place where you'll be working and contributing to the country. I'm sure your deliberation today, Dr. Achari, will make an impeccable impact on the mind of these young managers of today and future CEOs, CHROs, CFOs, CMOs, presidents, and the owners of business in this country. I welcome you wholeheartedly on this very, very topical topic. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sapna Rakesh. You rightly said corruption is one of the biggest problem, not of this country but across the world. We have seen number of corporate scandals. If you look at the global scandals, Enron scandal. In India, you see Satyam. You recently see that the banks are, going through a mounting NPAs, and then you see how other banks doing scandals and other things happening. What is going wrong? Do we need as MBA in rural management? He authored a book on rural economy, a big boon for nation building under Narendra Modi government. He has published number of research papers into the international level. He is the founder director of Corporate Governance Research Center across the country. Dr. Achari is a group.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Dr. Shashank Avasti ji, Dr. Arvind Sinha ji, Dr. Sapna Rakesh ji, Dr. R.P. Ahuja ji, Dr. Sansar Singh ji, Miss Amna Singh, Dr. Naruka ji, Dr. Ripudaman Gaur ji. Dear students, friends, GL Bajaj Institute in the entire Greater Noida, it's one of the pioneering institute, though geologically located in Greater Noida. It is being felt in the nooks and corners of the country. Recently, national education policy was discussed in the same platform. Our former Vice Chancellor was here, your directors and all the faculties were here. We had an opportunity to discuss about the implementation of national education policy, how to take it forward, the dreams of our Honorable Prime Minister for the students, both in the schools and in the colleges and the universities, the next generation, how they are going to shape up the country. That was being discussed on this very platform. And after that program, GL Bajaj Institute was discussed in various forums, not only in this part of the country, but even in the eastern part and even in the southern part. I had an opportunity to interact with the Vice Chancellors of around 36 central universities. And in those for us, I used this opportunity of telling them that not only the government-funded institutions are doing better for implementing the national education policy, the other private institutions, they are also doing better than the government organizations, and GL Bajaj stands at #1 position. I would like to convey to you all this. When the management of GL Bajaj asked me, would you like to come and discuss with our students of PGDM and also MBA programs, I immediately agreed to meet you all because corporate governance is my core area. The subject I have chosen for my PhD, I did my PhD from the nearby Amity University in Noida, and I did my MBA from the same UPTU where you are also, your institute is also affiliated to. So the PhD subject which I chose was corporate governance and whistleblowing. You would be surprised that when I enrolled myself in Amity University, the subject when I chose corporate governance and whistleblowing, the subject could not be accepted by the university because they said that we don't have anybody to guide you. Because the corporate governance is a subject which is only being talked about, not anything written as far as corporate governance is concerned. When I did my corporate governance PhD, there was nobody to guide me, and that made me to come out with the thesis which is the first of this kind in the entire country. I am very proud that my Vice Chancellor madam agreed that okay. She even asked me, why can't you change your topic? When we don't have anybody to guide you, why can't you shift to some other topic? I said, ma'am, I don't want to shift because I am not going to get any job after doing my PhD here. It is my passion. I want to do only on corporate governance, and if I don't want to, if you don't allow me to do on corporate governance, better I quit PhD. I don't want to continue my PhD here. That the subject what I have chosen is only corporate governance, business ethics, and the whistleblowing. And I am being the whistleblower of 2G spectrum scam, which you might have heard or read in the papers, that I was a whistleblower and I was in the court for a long 21 days being grilled by the topmost lawyers of this country who represented the accused persons. I wanted to do something on this field as far as academics is concerned. So I chose corporate governance, did my PhD, and after that I started meeting the students, meeting the corporate executives to take forward what is corporate governance and what we expect from these corporate executives to implement corporate governance in India. Corporate, as I said, corporate governance is only being talked about. We have read the, is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
We have read, when we go through the texts of European countries, American countries, the business MBA students texts, there is a word, corporate governance, and it is strictly implemented not only by the corporates there, but also by the government there. In US, you cannot pay bribe for getting a contract from the government. The moment you pay, you will be also arrested, and the person who got bribe also will be arrested, and both of you will be in jail, and the company will be bound up. This is what happens in Europe and American countries. But in our country, corporate governance is not even talked about. The bribe is part of the system. That is how the 2G spectrum scam came into existence. So, corporate governance, when we talk, as far as on paper only, and I want it to be implemented. You are all going to complete your MBA. Some of you will become CEOs, some of you will become CFOs, somebody will be heading a HR department in a big corporate company, or some of you will become a teacher, teaching in a college of IIMs, IITs and all. When you go into the field, after this education, what you are going to do as far as implementation of corporate governance and business ethics. I know there is a subject in your curriculum, and I think when I did my MBA, unless we qualify that one particular paper, even if we have excelled in other papers, our MBA degree would not be given. I think this is the same condition even in this UPTU also, even I think it is continuing the same system now. So we are studying, appearing in that one particular paper, business ethics, only for getting our degree, without application of our mind. What it is really meaning, why there is a need for corporate governance and business ethics, that is what I want to talk with you for another 20-30 minutes. And after that, if you have questions, I would love to answer your questions. We are all familiar that case studies we discuss in our classrooms. Case studies, our professors, our teachers come and tell us that so-and-so company, so-and-so country, so-and-so state, some business existed, some marketing department did some decision, took a decision, HR department took a decision, etc., etc. I will be talking about a particular case study in India. I am not naming them because of legal problems. I am still a witness in the Tujis scam. So I am not taking the names of the persons. I name these persons as Mr. A and Mr. M. There was a man, Mr. D, who established a big company, a big corporate company in the entire India. Core area was petrochemicals and textiles. Mr. D, unexpectedly, he died in the year 2002. He had two sons born out of the same parents, Mr. M and Mr. A. Both the sons, they were running the company, a very huge company, for some time together. Then, as you know, in our families, the sibling rivalry takes place. Mr. M, elder brother, Mr. A, the younger brother, they fought with each other, and they wanted a separation of their company into two. So, their mother intervened. She had a long meeting with both her sons. Some people from the industry, they were also brought in. Some elders from the financial sector were brought in. Some people in politics, in government, they were also brought in to settle this issue among these two brothers. After continuously talking for years and years, almost running to 2 to 3 years, there was an amicable settlement. Verticals were divided between two. Mr. M got something, Mr. A got something. Mr. M got oil and natural gas business. He also got chemicals and petrochemicals business, which his father was doing. He got refinery business. He got manufacturing. These are all old economy. When we talk about the economy, we divide into old economy, new economy. So these were the traditional business economies prevalent in the country at that time. I am talking about 2003, 2004, 5. The younger one, Mr. A, he got electricity and power. Very important. Without discussing about electricity and power, we cannot talk about our economy. He got telecom business. One of the best telecom businesses in the country. The whole world is moving towards communication, and he got that telecom. And he also got financial services. He got infrastructure. metros, construction of bridges, construction of big plants, and also he got entertainment. He was into filmmaking. He was into documentary making. He has produced n number of films. So he got into all new economy businesses. So 2006-2007, the company was split into two verticals, one with Mr. Young and another with Mr. A. Mr. A invested heavily in the company and borrowed extensively from outside. Borrowed means without application of mind, whether the borrowing is going to help the business to run, whether the business is going to give him profit or not, whether he will be having a break even or not, he borrowed heavily from the market. He got into a problem when he ventured into telecom business, and he landed up with the Central Bureau of Investigation, and the investigation was quietly blaming him because of the 2G spectrum scandal. So the younger sibling got into problem because he borrowed heavily, and another thing is he did not listen to his managers. He was having best of the best new economy verticals with him, and top IIM graduates, people from abroad, they were there in his board. The board meetings were held in big 5-star hotels, but he never listened to anybody. He was abusive, he was arrogant, and he always said that I am the decision maker, you are all mere puppets. Every board meeting of his verticals ended up saying that whatever I say is final. So the other board member, the directors of the board, they were all simply nodding their heads without giving advice, or he was not in the mind of taking the advice from them. So a big vertical, new business, telecom, entertainment, communication, infrastructure collapsed completely. And the other side of the spectrum, the elder one, he was doing excellent business. He was not an autocrat. He met everybody. He gave time to his managers. He listened to them. He spoke to them. He listened to whatever the advices, good or bad, given by his managers. When somebody wants to meet him, he gave time to him. Big or small, in the company, people can approach him. The employees can approach him. And he discussed with everybody in the entire business family whether I am doing something right or wrong. If he felt that any of the decisions he was being taking, whether it was good for the company or whether it will land him in soon. So Mr. Young, who was a Democrat, who was giving time to his managers, who could take his CEOs along with him in all the business decisions he took. Down the line, 2020, the younger sibling became bankrupt. He was supposed to be arrested because the debt he got into was a big debt he could not repay. On open public platform in a court of law in UK, he announced that I have become a bankrupt. I don't have anything with me. So the insolvency process started. And back in India, he was supposed to pay back 462 crores to one of the suppliers. The supplier put pressure on him. He did not give back the money because he didn't have. The matter went to Supreme Court. And in the Supreme Court, the judges gave him time 24 hours. Give back 462 crores. Otherwise, go to jail, go to Tihar jail to raise it. And ultimately, the elder sibling, on the pressure of their mother, lent 462 crores. And he saved his head. He saved his day. This is the case study. I think you would be all knowing whom I am referring to. But I am not able to take the name because of the legal complications. As I said, that I am just still the witness in the case. So, why this happened? This is where we are going to talk about corporate governance and business ethics. This is an example in front of us. Both of them are living in front of our own eyes. We are seeing them in our TV channels. Many times they come and attend big programs. But the real story is lack of corporate governance and business ethics in that particular family, in that particular business entity. So, let us now come to corporate governance. Governance, which is refers to all process of governing, whether undertaken by a government or a private organization, either formal or informal, through laws, through rules, through norms, through power and practice, past and present. We all know governance because we are all being governed in one way or the other by the Government of India and the state government. Government of India in a large spectrum and the state government in the next level. Now you are all in Uttar Pradesh. Greater Noida is part of Uttar Pradesh. Any decision taken by the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh will be directly governing you. If suppose tomorrow he declares that the corona cases are all increasing, I'll go home. Bajaj will close the college and say that let us go back to our online programs. So this is a way of governance. In one way or the other, we are being governed by the governments. The government of India and the government of states in India, big industrial houses, banking and financial institutions, they are governing us every day, every moment of our lives, are set and pursued in the context of the social, regulatory market environment. Social environment, because the corporate can have any business which is only accepted by the society. If the society says you cannot have a business which is unethical, a corporate company cannot have a business. Like if you have to have a business which has been prohibited in India, in any part of India, you cannot have that business. So society decides what business you can have or what business you cannot have. Regulatory environment. There are regulators. We have electricity regulatory authority. We have airports economic regulatory authority. We have banking regulatory authorities, insurance regulatory authorities. When there is a problem between the person who is running the business and his end user, the end user can go and knock the doors of the regulators. And no business can run without the approval of the regulator. So the regulatory environment controls the corporate governance in a big way. And finally, the market environment. You cannot run a business which is going to put you in loss. You are going to have a business which is going to pay back you. You are going to be a CEO. Tomorrow, the promoter of the company says, I am not getting enough money from the business where I have invested, and you are the chief executive officer of my company. Do something. Do something where my investment is getting adequate return. If I am not able to get the returns from whatever I have invested, then there is no point of running this business and I will be forced to close this business. So, the market environment decides about the corporate governance. Governance mechanism includes monitoring actions, policies, decisions of corporations and their agents, which include board of directors, managers, shareholders, creditors, auditors and regulators. If you see this picture, the corporate governance is being controlled by the stockholders, government, management, board of directors, employees. Stockholders give the finance. You and me are investing small money. Suppose, let us see, I am in a stock market business. I have invested 100 rupees in a company. I am the stockholder of that company. And I expect a return from that company. Whatever I have invested, 100 crores should become 150 crores, 120 crores, 150 crores, 200 crores, 300 crores, in a big way. Or even if I have invested 100 rupees, I expect a return of 120 rupees, 150 rupees or 200 rupees. My money, my investment has to double or triple. That is the expectation of a stockholder. Management. The management of that company, taking the money, they are doing the business. They may be in manufacturing, there may be some other sector, service sector, and they do the business. They are answerable to the board of directors. And this board of directors have the overall monitoring process, monitoring responsibility, whether the employees are really doing their work or not. Whether the employees are fully involved in the business for what they are being paid for. And above all of them, government is the monitor. So, corporate governance is being controlled by stockholders, government, management, board of directors and employees. And it balances the company's employees, customers, creditors, suppliers, government, society and others. When we talk about corporate governance, we have to remember 4 P's. The 4 P's are people, purpose, process, performance for the sustainable development. So, without these 4 P's, we cannot define what is corporate governance. What are the objectives of corporate governance we should know? Corporate governance protects the rights of shareholders, includes operational risk management and holds directors accountable for their decision making in running of the company. So, if the company is doing better, doing enough business, making profit, then corporate governance is good in that company. Suppose the company is not doing well, the company is under red, loss after loss it's making, that means there is a problem with the corporate governance. And the key objectives are transparency and full disclosure, accountability, equitable treatment of shareholders, self-evaluation, increasing shareholders' value. As I said earlier, the stockholder, he decides that whatever investment I have given, I should get back. And for that, there should be transparent and full disclosure. You will be also studying about how every year the companies have to file their returns. Their returns will be monitored by the government. Both their income, both their expenditure, everything will be monitored by the government, whether the particular company is doing real business or they are into siphoning of some money. One after another companies are getting into the enforcement directorate cases. Yesterday you have read Amway got into problem because there is no corporate governance. There is something hanky-panky. The PMLA Act, the Money Laundering Act, it has become very strong. If a company is found involved in something which is unethical, the CEO can be arrested. There are many instances, the CEOs were in jail. So I am not telling you just to put you people under tense, under stress. But the CEO is the ultimate head of the organization, and he is supposed to do the business by ethical means. If he fails to do, if the company is found involved in some activities which are criminal, then he is bound to be punished. So there should be a transparent and full disclosure, and he should be accountable to the board of directors, and the shareholders should be equally treated. It doesn't mean that a person who has invested 1 lakh rupees will be treated in another way. A person who is holding a share of 1 share will be treated in another way. All the stockholders, all the shareholders will be treated equally by the board. And self-evaluation. Every company has to do self-evaluation over time. There should be a periodical self-evaluation done by the companies whether they are traveling in the right direction or not. Transparency and full disclosure, I have already explained to you annual reports and the monthly progress report submitted to the corporate executives. Increasing shareholders' wealth, I have explained to you. Every investment made by the stockholder, by the shareholder, has to be returned back. And it is obvious for him to expect a good return from the company management. Whatever he has invested, he gets back. Influence of corporate governance on stakeholders. Influence from government agencies, stock exchanges, management, that is board of directors, auditors, lenders, suppliers. You must be reading about supply chain management. What are all the products you are using for manufacturing of your product? That is very important. If suppose you use a substandard product for manufacturing, and ultimately the product you have manufactured got into trouble. Suppose the cement, which you are, suppose you are in a cement company, CEO of a cement company, the manufacturing of cement process, the raw material which you have used, and if they were substandard, and using your cement, a bridge was constructed somewhere in Lucknow, and the bridge collapsed, you will be held responsible. So, even in supply chain management, the corporate governance comes into play. Whether you have sourced the product from the right person. In order to save your money, in order to save your commission, you have used a substandard product, you will be held responsible. There corporate governance plays an important role. The essential factors of corporate governance: confidence of the stakeholders that organization will deliver the expected outcome. If the stakeholders do not have enough confidence on the way organization is being controlled and directed, they are less likely to connect with the organization. So the stakeholders which are 4-5 I have talked about, they should have a confidence with the management. Ultimately, corporate governance is managing the confidence of the people. If your users, suppose you are selling a product in the market, your customer, he feels, I am happy with this particular product. This particular product has never taken me to the service agent. Like I had a Sony television. 15 years, the LCD TV has never gone into problem. So I have a confidence that the Sony product is a good product. That confidence building is done by the corporate governance. So ultimately, when we talk about corporate governance, it talks about inclusion of corporate governance into the whole business environment. Excluding corporate governance, you cannot isolate business environment. Be it your marketing, be it your sales, be it your production, be it your HR, be it your finance management. Everything that is a corporate governance in one bit or the other. And unfortunately, in India, we are not able to identify the problem. We are not able to see there is a corporate governance involved in every bit, at least in a small way, in every field of management. As I said, retail management also, you have a corporate governance involved into that. So, we have to see corporate governance holistically. A diverse workforce has got positive impact on business performance. KPMG conducted a survey recently. They said 56% organizations believe diversity drives innovation. 74% teams consider corporate governance critical for success. Very important, 74%. I give you the best of the best example. Here, two brothers born to the same father and mother. One thrived a lot. He is now one of the top 10 big companies in the world. Other person is completely doomed. His net worth is zero. That is that 74% teams consider corporate governance critical for success. And failure of corporate governance in India. I already gave you one case study. These are all the three extra case studies. Yeah. Yes Bank Tank, Coffee Day, Jet Airways. You all know about it, so I need not go into details because Yes Bank completely doomed because of its promoter. Debt he could not service back. Coffee Day, Siddharth, the owner of the Coffee Day, he got money for running his business. Instead of running his money for coffee beans, he invested that money into real estate. When the people who lent the money, they asked back the money, he could not pay back and he ultimately committed suicide. So that is Coffee Day. And fortunately now, his wife has taken over the company and she has turned it around. The husband was a failure. The male was a failure. He committed suicide. But his wife turned it around. And now Coffee Day is doing better. And they are wiping out all their debt now. And Jet Airways, a failure story. One of the best airlines. I used to travel Jet Airways every time I used to travel when it was running. I always preferred Jet Airways. One of the best airlines. One of the best pilots. One of the best air hostesses in the industry. And best service. But one person's greed, everything finished. Now Jet Airways is no more in the Indian air. So, Yes Bank, Jet Airways, Coffee Day, they are the case studies which you will be reading in your paper. So, my question is corporate governance only on paper? Yes, it is only on paper as far as India is concerned. In practice, corporate governance does not get its requisite importance in a company. The failure of independent directors in foreseeing the future, yes. I will talk to you about the independent director's role. Just 2 minutes. Independent directors play a very important role in the board. They are from outside the company. They are experts in their own fields. The company brings them as experts. If suppose the company is not being run as per the vision and the mission for which it was created, these independent directors play the role of a watchdog. If the promoter is getting into problem because of regulatory affairs, because of some criminal activities, because of bravery, these independent directors play a role in pointing out in the board meeting that you are not doing the right things ethically. There is something lacking in your business ethics. Please mend your ways and come back to the track. That is the role of an independent director. The failure of providing adequate representation to best of talent and experience. Filling the board with yes men. I said about Mr. A. Mr. A had the board of directors of his own cronies. They will come, sit in the board and chit chat, and whatever he says, they will say yes. Okay sir, decision taken. We have to take 20 crores, 20,000 crores from so and so bank. They will say yes. Whether the business is going to be viable or not, they won't think about it. So he brought all his cronies, all his yes men into the board of directors. Women professionals being sidelined from being appointed. I am seeing young girls here. This is for you. You are going to become CEO. That is why you have enrolled as an MBA student here. In your company, are there representation for women? Women are better decision makers. You give 20,000 rupees to a woman. She will run the family within that 20,000 rupees. They will not go out for taking money from neighbor. You give 1 lakh rupees to your wife. She will manage, maybe in a better way. But at the same time, without even husband supporting the woman during the pandemic period, just by taking the ration from the Uttar Pradesh government, women were running the household. No woman let her husband or child to die because of non-availability of ration. That credit I give to the woman, the girl sitting here. Otherwise, in the entire UP, women folk would have died during the last 2 years, especially during COVID second period. But they managed it in such a way, just by taking the ration from government, they gave food to their husbands, they gave food to their elders, they gave food to their children, so that they can live and sustain, so that they can get a better future. But unfortunately, when we talk about business environment, women are not given that representation which they are supposed to get in the board of directors. All the boards are male dominated. I am not saying that male are not that much good decision makers, but when comparing male versus female, you have Saraswati, you have Lakshmi, you have Parvati. Why only goddesses are given importance in India? You should know that. Saraswati, Lakshmi, Parvati, God's creation. They are the goddesses. We worship them. Because without taking away Saraswati, Lakshmi and Parvati from our life, we become a big zero. So that is very important. The women play very important role in our society. Unfortunately, in the board, in the business environment, women are not given adequate representation. Board members enjoy perks and benefits of positions rather than doing the job of a watchman. I explained to you already. Questions to be asked. I think I have taken time. Just I will finish in another 5-10 minutes. Okay? Questions to be asked. Has there been focus on performance and management? Are personal goals aligned with long-term organizational benefits? Are board doing what is right for the organization or merely following the law of the land? Has there been focus on performance management? Or Indian corporates are benchmarking to the best global practices? So I end this part of corporate governance by quoting KPMG, borrowing from the wisdom of the past and amalgamating the essence of current trends. A successful board is defined not simply by what it does, but how it chooses to implement its vision. And 1 or 2 slides on business ethics. Business ethics refers to implementing appropriate business policies and practices with regard to arguably controversial subjects. It talks about corporate governance, insider trading, bribery, discrimination, social responsibility, and fiduciary responsibility. There are ethical business issues, honesty and fairness, conflict of interest, fraud, discrimination, using information technology for negative purpose. And there are myths about business ethics, whether it is personal or individual affair. Business and ethics do not mix. Ethics in business is a relative term. Good business means good ethics. Information and computing are amoral. And factors influencing business ethics, government regulations, social pressures, legal concerns, tension between personal standards and the needs of the organization, industry and company ethical codes. So, I wind up my interaction with you. Corporate governance, business ethics, don't consider them just on paper, just to clear your paper to get your degree. They are going to travel till your lifetime in one way or the other, in the family, or in the society, or in the business, or in the office, or in the company where you are going to work. If you do something unethical, I interacted with the faculty before I entered here. Ultimately, you are answerable to yourself only. You are not answerable to your father and mother. You are grown-up children. You are not answerable to your children when you are going to get married and get children. You are not answerable to your husbands and wives because they are separate individuals. Maybe a family, a joint family, because of marriage you are together. But at the end of the life, when you ask yourself a question, have I lived my life ethically? Have I lived my life truthfully? And if you say, yes, I have lived my life truthfully, without getting into any unethical activity, that means you have lived truly, and the purpose for what you were created by God. The God has created you for some purpose. And when you give back to Him a reply, my God, I have lived my life truthfully to myself. I have lived my life truthfully to the society where I am living. I am truthful to my family, my parents, my children, my husband and my wife. That means you have done justice to your living. That is very important. You have to do justice to yourself. It is not that somebody else is going to administer justice on you. So, with these words, I expect you all to do justice to yourself at the end of the day, at the end of the life, running to another 40 years, 50 years. Please remember this in mind. Be ethical in your business, in your social life, in your family life, in your overall life altogether. With these words, I thank the management of GL Bajaj to give me an opportunity to interact with you all. And if you have questions, I will take them.
Any questions, please? Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
A question from my side. As per ethics, ethics is basically derived from the Greek word ethos, which means character. So, what is morally good, morally wrong, bad? It refers to the ethics. If we talk about profession, ये वर्ड कहाँ तक सही है कि प्रोफेशनल इथिक्स? अब आप यदि if you are professional, then how ethics come? My question is this: if you are professional, then how ethics will come?
Sir, it is not the question of you being professional alone. You have to make your clients, your management where you are working, they also to be professional. You interact with your officials, with your colleagues, you interact with your management, you interact with your suppliers, you interact with your management team, interact with your marketing team. Anybody who come across in your professional life, that professionalism, that ethics should not only from you, you should make the others are also professional in their life. So, when we talk about business ethics, it is not only to you. You have to take it forward. It is like a multiplication effect. 2 into 2 becomes 4. And 4 into 2 becomes 8. So it gets multiplied. Like a cells in our body gets multiplied. So when you start with 1 and when you get multiplied with others with 2, 3, 4, that means the business ethics, the professional ethics goes very wide. I'll give you a small example. On the way to the GL Bajaj, I sent you a question to, I'm talking about professional ethics. one person sent a question to one of the lawyers and asked a question that there is a case going on with Supertech. You must have all read it. NCLT has declared some of the projects of Supertech as the insolvency process has started. So one person, one buyer of Supertech put a question to the lawyer. Sir, I would like to know, is there anybody else who has purchased a villa from Supertech? Because basically that case pertains to flat buyers. So when a question was put to the lawyer, that if you have anybody who has purchased villa from Supertech and got into the problem, please give me the name and the number of that person so that I can talk to that person. The lawyer sent a message, it is beyond my professional. Simple. And find another lawyer. I think you got it. Yeah.
Mark this.
Sir, I want to ask a question.
Yes, sir.
If my employee want to more profit and the government is unethical thing, suppose that insider trading is not allowed in our country, but somehow I am connected with some person who gave me insider information directly or indirectly in some way, and my employee wants that I can trade my money or my institution money on the behalf of that. Then in this situation, what I have to follow? My employee rule or government rule, and there is some more countries there insider trading is allowed. And what to do in that kind of situation also?
What's your name?
Aditya Prashad.
Aditya.
Yes.
Aditya, if you are living in India, you have to follow Indian law. Simple. When Indian law prohibits insider trading, whether your employer or employee wants insider trading, you are not supposed to.
And but my government, suppose I am working in Indian company, they also trade in some other Brazil, and their insider trading and pump and dump is also allowed. Then what to do there now?
No, you are not supposed to. If you are doing business in India,
Yeah.
you have to follow Indian laws. Any MNC,
I mean, MNC, my company's branch.
okay, that is what I am telling you. If the company is there abroad, there insider trading is permitted. Whether your platform is being used for that, you are not supposed to.
I have to follow my company's law there also.
Yes, you have to know. If that company, your offshore partner is having legally insider trading, but sitting in India, you are not supposed to.
Thank you.
You go there, take a flight, go to that country, sit there, do insider trading. But sitting in the border, within the borders of India, you are not supposed to. You are bound by Indian law.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello sir, good afternoon.
Yes.
My name is Kesri Nandan Singh.
What is that?
Kesri Nandan Singh.
Kesri Nandan Singh. Yes,
And
please.
my question to you is how to deal with ethical dilemmas.
Order?
How to deal with ethical dilemmas. Suppose you are in a scenario
Ethical?
dilemma.
Dilemma. Okay, right. Okay, I am Madrasi actually. In south of India, we speak English in a different way. In north of India, we speak English in a different way. So, being a Madrasi, I could have get that. Ethical dilemma. Your heart is the judge. Okay, when you are asked to do something by your manager, put that question to your heart, whether it is ethical or unethical. And